What's wrong? Oh, help me. We have to stop it. I must fight it. I must resist.
Must stabilize. Big finish. For the love of story.
Hey there, buddy. You alright? Yeah, I'm okay. It's just... You've been having the once and future nightmare again, haven't you? I don't know why. Every single day, I just think about once and future. I mean, it's over. It's done. It's finally done. But I still cannot get it out of my mind. It haunts my dreams. Look, I know you've been struggling to get videos off the planning stage for quite some time now, but maybe if you actually commit to doing a video about once and future will be gone from your head once and for all. Maybe you're onto something. If I just make a video about it, I can finally stop thinking about it. I can move on with my life. I can move on to other projects. I can finally get them off my documents, off my screen, and into reality. Thank you. You're a goddamn genius, you are. Oh god. Why did I run around the house? That was so pointless. Oh my god, it's so hot in here. Oh, this Australian summer. Oh boy. Wait, what was I supposed to talk about? Once and Future is an 8-part audio drama series released by Big Finish Production that saw multiple doctors, companions and villains interact with one another to celebrate Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. This 2-year-long event, yeah that's right, 2 years, so more of a 60th and 61st anniversary celebration, but I guess putting 60 plus 61 years on the covers of this series doesn't vibe as well as just 60 years. Saw the Doctor afflicted with degeneration, forcing them to cycle between previous incarnations as they reunited with both past and future companions to uncover the mystery of this degeneration. When news came out of the series, I was hyped. Through thick and thin, I am a Big Finish fan and supporter, and for them to do an anniversary celebration for the 60th, it felt like having sex for the first time, and especially with, you know, this stacked cast that would be in it. That once and future, not the sex, you know, go big or go home. I don't think you should apply that for, you know, your first time having sex, obviously. With what we believe would be 11 Doctors at the time, joined by iconic companions such as Sarah Jane Smith, River Song, even Jackie Tyler, and villains such as Davros and the Monk, there was no way that Big Finish could drop the ball on this. Oh boy, was I wrong.
As soon as I saw you, I knew you were special because my titties began to tingle.
Once and Future begins with past lives. The Doctor is degenerating, and after cycling through some previous faces, settles on the 4th Doctor, who believes that the meddlesome rapscallion, the meddling monk, had something to do with his current affliction. As the opener of this series, it's fine. It's a fine opener. It sets up the premise of Once and Future well, what the status quo would be, and what we'd expect from it. You know, you couldn't ask for a more competent yet effective opener to a special. Now, granted, I do believe, and I still believe in it, is that Sarah Jane is kind of unessential to this story, kind of very unnecessary, considering the whole premise of, like, her plot with the monk is mainly that the monk needs someone to break into the Black Archive, and we already also have Kate and Osgood in there, who work with UNIT, which the Black Archive is, you know, was created by, so I don't know. And it isn't, and then there's the weird little thing of, like, this is after Hand of Fear, so it's just like, until we get the actual explanation, like, further on in the story, you're left with this weird, like, thought of, like, she's not supposed to have, like, reunited with the Doctor till, 5 Doctors and then school reunion. So her meeting what she believes to be the 4th Doctor, again, literally after she had just left him. It's a bit odd, continuity-wise, but again, like I said, they do explain how they work around this much later on in the series. But regardless of my thoughts, like I said, it's a fine opener, but, nothing could possibly AI go wrong.
I told you you've won! Even if you... Oh dear.
Our next story takes us to the end of time, particularly a artist at the end of time. The degenerating Doctor has now settled on the 5th Doctor and encounters not only the Curator, the Colin Baker version of the Curator, but also Jenny, the Doctor's future daughter, who in real life is the daughter of Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor, and the wife of David Tennant, the 10th Doctor. Did you know that? Did you know that Viggo Mortensen also broke his foot when he kicked that helmet in the 2 towers? I bet you didn't know that. It's not like everyone in the internet repeats these facts. Now, this story for me shows that structurally, maybe some parts of Once and Future are in the wrong place. They're misplaced in this event. Because there's a big part in this story where the 5th Doctor is very melancholy about his fate, about what's happening with this degeneration, and believing that if he doesn't find a solution, it could be the end of him. Now, granted, that is something he should be worried about, but this is only the 2nd story of this event, and he's only following his now 2nd lead. So maybe if this story was closer towards the end, where it feels like the Doctor has been following these leads and it's not really getting him anywhere, it would make more sense for him to be a bit melancholy about his fate. To maybe feel like, this could be the end for me because I'm getting nowhere. Now, there's probably one thing you want me to talk about, which I have already done a video on, is AI. Particularly the AI that was used for the cover for this story. For those who didn't know, the artist that did the covers, the regular edition, the normal edition covers for Once and Future, used AI, particularly for the first 2. It's very minimal in the Past Lives cover, but for Artists at the End of Time, it was very clearly AI. And after a lot of uproar about it, that Big Finish eventually decided to change the cover, which is good. And I remember seeing some people say, like, not really as a defense to the cover, but saying that, oh, maybe the artist used AI because the story is about AI. Maybe it's a criticism of AI. To which I say, if you're using AI to criticize AI, I don't think that's how that works. No, that's like me if I were arguing against, I don't know, punching someone and then I also punch them. It's like, you should stop punching people, and then I punch them. I don't know, I don't think that works as like an argument for that I'm using the thing to criticize it. And this isn't Andor. I use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. Like, that's not like that. And at the end of the day, once the story came out, it had nothing to do with AI. It was more about criticizing people capitalizing off art. They're using the tragedy of these planets being destroyed. They're purposely destroying these planets that the curator is making paintings of in order to up the value of them. That's what it's mainly criticizing. Nothing to do with AI. Moving on from that, the story itself. Much like the opener, it's fine. It's another fine story. But you know what would make Once and Future even better? If we completely derailed the plot.
Will you stay still, you idiots? I don't have any time to...
Wow! Huh. Good God, Joel, what is it good for? Absolutely derailing your plot before you even reach the midway point? Say it again, yeah! We come to a Genius for War, and the 7th Doctor takes charge as he is forced back into the Time War, in order to rescue and broker a deal with Davros. Yes, that Davros. Yes and no. For those who haven't listened to the 4th, 8th Doctor Time War box set, you won't know that this Davros isn't actually the main universe Davros. It's the Davros from the story Palindrome that was eventually turned into the Davros that we know in order to help recreate the Daleks after they were erased from history. But even then, he's still treated as the Davros that we know, so I guess no extra homework for you. Hooray! Now, there is a problem I have with this story. The problem is that it is really good. Now, stay with me for a moment, okay? Let me explain. Throwing an incarnation of the Doctor that is known for various schemes and plots to defeat his enemies into the Time War is a fascinating idea. I know, adding the fact that he is forced to rescue one of his greatest foes on behalf of his own people. It is a really good story to listen to. It's so fascinating doing this kind of like idea, this premise. The problem being, it has nothing to do with Once and Future. This story completely ignores the degeneration plotline to the point where the Time Lords mention, yeah, we know what's happening to you. We're not gonna do anything because we're kind of busy doing war crimes, I guess, so... And at the end, they wipe the Doctor's memory, so it's... The whole point of the whole like story itself becomes pointless. So I don't know why. I don't know why it was like you have this whole story of Once and Future dealing with the Doctor's degeneration, and the third story you decide, let's throw it away. Like, this is like, as you will come to see as we progress further into this video, it's one of a few stories where it didn't need to be Once and Future. This could have just been like a random, like, if they still had like the monthly adventures, that range, this could just be a story where, you know, the 7th Doctor gets like thrown into the Time War. Similar to like what they did with, was it Shadow of the Daleks, where the 5th Doctor was interacted with the Time War. I haven't listened to those yet, but I know that's the main like premise of it, like 5th Doctor and the Time War like reaching back and somehow the 5th Doctor gets involved. You know, that's what it feels like with this story. This feels like just something that could have been in the monthly adventures, and it could have been like a really good like solo, just random story that, you know, what if the 7th Doctor was in the Time War, like briefly. But no, yeah, it's just kind of baffling that they chose to derail it this early. You know, such a confusing choice to do this. But granted, sometimes, you know, confusing choices lead to some pretty stellar team-ups.
I've eaten possum's anus on live television. Couldn't be worse than that.
The Big Finish dartboard is at full effect here. Jimmy Quirk's favourite Doctor takes charge as we now enter one of the weirdest matchups in Doctor Who history. The 6th Doctor, Harry Sullivan, Jackie Tyler, Lady Christina. This is such a bizarre meeting of characters. But what makes it even more bizarre is that it kind of works. Now granted, similar to Sarah Jane in past lives, I feel like Harry is kind of unnecessary in this story, and you could probably rewrite the story to not have him in it and it might not change as much. But this story is a lot of fun, and it at least progresses the plot of Once and Future. But yeah, like this matchup of just like, here's 6 with a 4th Doctor companion, the mother of a 9th and 10th Doctor companion, and then a brief 10th Doctor companion. Like, it's so weird. I think when we all saw it, and we all got like the information about this story, I think collectively almost all of us were like, what are you doing? What even is this? Now, coupled by the fact that the cover wasn't particularly the best. And I could argue even the weird AI looking one looked better than this cover. Granted, this wasn't AI, so you know, it's up above it maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's such a bizarre choice of characters to meet up, and it's near perfect. It's a near perfect story. But now we come to the point where, much like Russell T Davies would do later in the year, Big Finish has got to bring in the big guns in order to change regeneration history.
You did that?
Yeah, just this morning.
Fuck off!
If you thought that David Tennant was only going to be in just the 60th anniversary specials, you were wrong. You probably also think we'd finally get all of the Dalek master plan. You fool. As we get closer to the end, David Tennant takes charge in the Martian invasion of Planetoid 50. Oh, quite a wordy title, that is. But wait. Here's an issue. If the Doctor is degenerating, how could he degenerate into a future incarnation if that's not really a regression? Well, it's explained in the story. Like, yeah, one of the key points of the story, it explains like how that is possible. You know, I just wanted to take a jab at the TARDIS wiki, including this instant as degeneration. You know, so you know when it's more of a regeneration, regeneration. I don't know, I'll go and edit the TARDIS wiki article myself, you know, reality will be what I make it. I made a jigsaw out of your life, do you like it? This story is a lot of fun, and it's, especially when it's bolstered by the cast. You have David Tennant and Michelle Gomez, like, them playing slightly different versions of their respective characters, the 10th Doctor and Missy, and they're having to play off against one another. It's a lot of fun. And this is probably the only Once and Future story where one of the first 3 incarnations of the Doctor actually has something to do. You'll find that if you've listened to Once and Future, you'll kind of realize the 2nd and 3rd Doctor don't have much to do. This is like a celebration of Doctor Who, and they don't get stories to themselves. Now, granted, the 1st Doctor doesn't either, but he still has a part to play in Martian invasion before we have the twist of degenerating into the 10th Doctor. So it gives the story props to that. Like, come on, like, celebration. Like, we're not celebrating all of them? Okay, sure, whatever, fine. I mean, you've already made a lot of bizarre choices in this series. Let's just add some more to it. But no, really fun story. Progresses the actual overall plot of Once and Future, so hooray, thanks for that. But, you know, after 2 stories of, you know, bringing the series back on track, I'm guessing Big Finish believed it was time to, you know, derail the story once again, because, I mean, they already took your money before you found out what was actually going to happen in this series, you know, you suckers. It's me. I'm the sucker.
It really is a beautiful place, and it's covered in shit.
Sack Jason Haig-Ellery, sack Nicholas Briggs, and sack Russell T Davies. We have reached our 2nd derailment of this series. Yes, that's right. In an 8-part anniversary special, Big Finish decided to derail the plot twice. And not in a, my overall thoughts of Once and Future are, me likey, likey. And even worse, this was right before the finale. In Time Lord Immemorial, we have the shocking twist that Christopher Eccleston actually agreed to be in a multi-Doctor story. Granted, it's with the late, great David Warner, so headlining a Big Finish story with an established actor as David Warner gives some legroom to his whole I walk a lonely road, the only road that I have ever known. Much like for A Genius for War, this decides to just ignore the plot of Once and Future and decide to have its own multiverse hijinks, because multiverse is the rage, it's the cool thing to do, because Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. You know, you'll have a few that do the multiverse stuff well, like Spider-Verse and Everything Everywhere All at Once, but now we have bloody Avengers Doomsday with bloody Tony Stark Iron Man because, well, please come back to theaters. We're desperate, guys. Please give the billion-dollar corporation more money, please. But Time Lord Immemorial, it's whatever. This far in the series, I was feeling like, what am I doing here, brother? What's going on? But luckily, Big Finish remembered that they had not only a plot that needed continuing, it needed to end.
Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy.
What about Paul McGann?
Paul McGann doesn't count.
Star of Alien 3 and Lesbian Vampire Killers, Paul McGann steers us to the finish line with The Union. Finally, all will be revealed. Who or what caused this degeneration? Will the Doctor be able to save the day at the end? Was it worth spending so much money on this series? And we do get our answers. It was the Union, the fearful thing that corporations are afraid of. No, it's the character is called the Union. It's the final incarnation of the Collective, that a Time Lord criminal that has regenerative dissonance, where every time they regenerate, their past self stays in their head. You know, more commonly you would know of like the 11. The 11 is the most well known of the Collective. So why did they call us all of this? Well, they didn't like the 12 other voices in their head, so they're like, screw it, let's cause degeneration to not only the Doctor but like several other Time Lords, so I can use the energy to suppress it, because I don't know, I guess that's cheaper than therapy. Alongside his granddaughters Susan and his future wife River Song, the Doctor is able to stop the Union and stabilize himself back into the incarnation where it all began, the War Doctor. You know, coupled with some good surprises. Well, one of them was a good surprise, because the other one they decided to spoil at the end of a trailer, because, I don't know, if you haven't been like catching on, Big Finish just didn't have a lot of good ideas or smart ideas for this series, so hell, add some more to the pile, I guess. Regardless, this was fine. It was an okay end. It felt a bit rushed. It's like an hour-long story, trying to like wrap up everything. Yeah, it's gonna feel a bit rushed. But we at least got our answers. You know, it's over. It's done. And, you know, there we have it. Once and Future, Big Finish's 7-part... Oh, wait, this was an 8-part series.
Writhing around an early
Over a year after the Union ended, and the anniversary this whole series was based around, we finally got Coda, the final act. The War Doctor takes front and center as he meets none other than Joe Martin's The Fugitive Doctor. At this time, we already knew that the Fugitive Doctor would be headlining her own series at Big Finish, The Fugitive Doctor Adventures. So to learn that the end, the epilogue of Once and Future would have her in it, was actually a generally like really good surprise. Two of the forgotten incarnations of the Doctor going head to head with one another, joined by the Queen of Big Finish, the sole reason that Big Finish is a thing and they got the rights to do Doctor Who on audio during the wilderness years, Bernie Summerfield. Oh, and Vienna Salvatore is there. She's fine. I kind of like her better when she's in the Master series. Now we come to the question, was it worth the wait? A year after the Union, a year after the anniversary this whole special was based around had ended, was it worth the wait? Was there any reason why this story in particular had to be released long after the premise had concluded? While I may not know the reason behind it, I can tell you that it wasn't worth the wait. It's a story that has some fun moments. You know, Joe Martin as the Fugitive Doctor is great. It's a fine story, but much like with A Genius for War and Time Lord Immemorial, it has nothing to do with Once and Future. It's an epilogue that really doesn't need to exist. This felt more like a teaser for the Fugitive Doctor adventures. So, unlike with A Genius for War and Time Lord Immemorial, they're egregious when it comes to them derailing the plot because they're actually in the main like story itself, whereas this is essentially an afterthought. You know, so it having nothing to do with Once and Future, yeah, it's kind of bad because it's called Once and Future Coda, the final act, but it can't derail a story that already ended a year ago. Thanks for making me wait so long for nothing, Big Finish. In conclusion, Once and Future is this weird conundrum. It's an 8-part series, which is only really 7 parts because the epilogue is optional, but is more of a 5-part series because 2 of the stories in it have nothing to do with the overall premise. It's an anniversary special for Doctor Who, but certain incarnations aren't given as much screen time as other incarnations. I mean, hell, the 4th Doctor gets to mainline 2 stories, and granted, one of them he is sharing with another Doctor, but did he really need to be in the Union? Like, I mean, granted, all of the Doctors are eventually in the Union, but did he need to be, like, the secondary, like, cast member? You know, having 2 Doctors headline the Union, instead of it just being, well, just the 8th Doctor? And I know some people might say, well, Colin Baker's in Once and Future twice. But yeah, he's playing 2 different characters. So I can give some leeway to that because he's essentially not playing the 6th Doctor 2 times in 2 different stories. He's playing the curator that looks like an old 6th Doctor, then he's also playing a degenerating 6th Doctor. Once and Future is a infuriating mess, because the premise is very interesting. The idea of the Doctor degenerating, so that is how you get the actors back to reprise their roles. Instead of just doing the typical multi-Doctor story, where it's just this Doctor meets this Doctor, this man, then eventually they all come together, they all meet. This is a very creative way of getting the Doctors back without having just to do another, like, multi-Doctor story. Because, well, Big Finish likes to take that concept and use it a lot, and they run it into the ground. So it's not a very, you know, fresh new idea for them to do multi-Doctor stories. So at least given this, that they were a bit creative with doing a multi-Doctor story by just having it technically be one Doctor that is cycling through past and then eventually future faces as well. So I'll give them props for that, but like just how they structured this series and the fact that 2 different times they just completely ignored it, I don't know. It's like, I love Doctor Who and I love listening to all these actors like play the Doctor, but Yost has still got to give me a really good story, a good strong, stable story. And for the most part, everything here was just fine. And you had years. You've been working on this for years. Like, as early as, I would say, at least maybe 2019. Because Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50 was recorded in 2020. So, going off that, that's probably the earliest that they at least recorded for this series. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe future me will fact check myself here. But yeah, at least, I would say at least 2019 minimum is when they started like planning it and putting it all together. And did no one in the writing room think, hey, maybe we should, you know, make this plot structurally sound. Maybe we shouldn't take these detours. Okay? Like, I don't know. I don't know whose like decisions were these. If they had pressure from like either like the BBC or whatever on them to be like, no, you have to do it like this, or else we won't let you do it, because I know that is a thing. Sometimes they have to run it by the BBC, and there was the recent thing. Well, not recent-ish, quite some time ago, where they now have like restrictions of what they can do. They can't create like incarnations exclusive to Big Finish. They can't, and the big thing which I'm kind of glad they're doing is they can't do these constant like characters meeting each other. No. What if Jackie Tyler met the Timeless Child? Like, they can't do that. Granted, they absolutely would, because in that year, in 2023, Jackie was just meeting people. I don't know, there's weird fascination of just a certain character just meeting every other character. And they are still kind of doing this with, like, the Paternoster gang is kind of doing this, where they've met the 8th Doctor, and now they've, I think, of time of recording, they've just met the 2nd Doctor as well. So I think there's still some like leftovers from before the restrictions happened. So it's like, well, we're still gonna release these. But yeah, I don't know. It just, whenever I think of Once and Future, I get mad, because this could have been better. I don't know. How would I write this better? I don't know. I'm not a writer. All right. I would like to be a writer. I would like to write things. I'm just not. I can't get anything off the ground most of the time, especially like with these videos. Okay, you should look at my documents, and you will see the list of videos that I have planned and not done. Okay, I would suck as a writer. Like my editor, my agent would absolutely hate me. But like, you're not doing anything. You've done a script for another thing again, and you're not even going to commit to it. Okay, so I don't know how you would go about fixing Once and Future. I think spreading it out to an 8-hour event, maybe cut it down a bit, because they did a multi-Doctor story before, and it being an anniversary special with the light at the end. You had Doctors 4 to 8 as the main stars of that story, and then again that also had the same issue of like the first 3 incarnations. They're in it, but not as much as the other incarnations are. So I don't know. But no, yeah, overall with Once and Future, it's disappointing. I don't want to be disappointed when it comes to Big Finish. I've gone on record many times that Big Finish was one of the main things that brought me back into Doctor Who. It opened my eyes to a whole new world of Doctor Who adventures that I just completely ignored because I can't see it. How can I engage with it if I can't see the actors on the screen? They're not on the screen. I can only hear them. I have to do the other half of imagining it, and I'm not getting paid for it? What even is this? No, like, I absolutely love Big Finish. So this comes from me criticizing them, as always, comes from love. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm criticizing it because I know they can do better. And I've listened and I've seen them done better. So you should, for an anniversary special, be on your, like, A game. A+ game. And this was the end result? Just a confusing, fine mess that bled into the 61st anniversary, which isn't really a thing. Like, no one celebrates, like 61 years. Like, it always has to be like, 50, 10, 25, like that's the anniversaries. Like, you never go for like any other number that isn't a 5 or ends in a 0. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a madman. But that is it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave your thoughts on Once and Future in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Ciao. Also, you better like this video. You better appreciate, because it's fucking hot in here and I'm sweating, brother. I'm sweating like a goddamn pig in here.